This video series is about project governance, but project governance is used by a lot of different people in a lot of different ways, and they don't always reconcile. So I think it's important to understand project governance from the people who really care about governance, from the board's perspective. So I want to, in this video, talk about the relationship between corporate governance and project governance. So let's start with the question, what is governance? The OECD definition is that corporate governance is the system by which business corporations are directed and controlled. There are two key words here, directed and controlled. So if we talk about controlled first, this is the emphasis of corporate governance at the moment. And people are not happy because they are overemphasizing risk. They are overemphasizing being sued. They're overemphasizing going to jail. There's no question that we need to control the business, but we need to direct it and control it. We don't want to overemphasize risk because it's turning governance into a dirty word. So directed is actually the more important word in this statement. And when we say directed, what are we trying to do? We're trying to direct management. The objective of corporate governance is to direct management to ensure that management is focused on above average returns, taking account of risk. Of course, you need to take account of risk, but once you have taken a certain amount of risk, you need to make sure that for that risk, are you getting a reasonable return? We want an above average return. That's corporate governance. But if you talk to any board member, they will probably say something to you like, bloody governance, not governance again, because risk is being overemphasized so much. So let's think about the real role of the board. It's to focus on above average returns. Corporate governance is to make sure management is focused at that level. So that's the performance aspect of governance. We want to make sure we are focused on performing above average return. And of course, conformance. We need to take account of risk. We need to make sure we're managing everything well so that if anything deviates, it's not conforming, we can manage that deviation quickly. But unfortunately, this is the way governance is practiced a lot. Conformance is so overemphasized. The accounting standards in the US, the Sarbanes-Oxley requirements in Australia, the ASX guidelines, in IT, the COBIT requirements, it's like a big ball that's chained to your leg. And as a board member, as a governor, you want to focus on performance, but the overemphasis on conformance is stopping you from doing your job. So actually, it needs to look like this. It needs to have a balance between performance and conformance. And the guidelines must add value. Now, let's think about performance for a moment. How do we measure performance? And this is about project governance. So one way of talking about performance is how much have you grown your revenue? This is a study done by PMI and PricewaterhouseCoopers, and they looked at PMOs, project management offices, and they found the top 10% of project management offices in their companies, they have twice as much revenue growth in 2020 compared to 2019. And they have 3 times better customer satisfaction than between 2020 and 2019. This is one way of measuring performance, and it makes sense. If we're going to govern, if we're going to do project governance, we need to do it for the sake of performing better by measuring perhaps customer satisfaction. And if you have happy customers, you have bigger revenue. This is a logical way to measure performance. So we have corporate governance, and corporate governance focuses on the vision and the mission, and it's 3 to 10 years into the future. And we have something called project management, which has been around for a very long time. This video series is not about project management, but we have to acknowledge project management has been around for a long time and there are many standards. But project management focuses on outputs, on coming in on time, coming in on budget, meeting quality standards, getting the stakeholders involved, and to some degree focusing on the outcomes, but I would argue not that much. Project governance is the connection between corporate governance and project management, because project management focuses on the short term, usually. Corporate governance is focused on the medium to long term. So project governance is a bridge between the two. And there's the vision, the 10-year plan, the 4-year plan, and the 1-year plan. So you can see project governance focuses in that middle area. It focuses on the outcomes. It takes it from the annual plan into the strategy of the organization. Without project governance, this is what it looks like. There's a reluctance to say no to projects. Projects lack strategic focus. Projects are sold on an emotional basis. There's no strong review process. They overemphasize the financials. There's no clear strategic criteria for selecting projects. And what happens is too many projects are taken and there's no time, and you can't kill projects, and the quality of execution suffers. We underestimate the risks and the costs, and projects are not aligned to strategy. So as a result, many projects come in over budget, projects are late, business needs are not met, business benefits are not received, and there's a lack of confidence in IT in this case, in the project manager in other cases. So project governance is really crucial, because without project governance, you have all these symptoms of bad behavior. I'd like you to think to yourself, how many of these situations have you experienced? Too many projects, can't kill projects, underestimating risks and costs, not aligning projects to strategy, over budget, over time, not meeting the business needs, not receiving the benefits, or a lack of confidence in IT or the project manager. So if any of these symptoms you've experienced, it tells you you need better project governance. So that's the end of the section, the video on corporate governance and project governance. Let's move on now and talk about what is project governance. How do we do it in practice? What I call the 6Q governance approach.